How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about BBIG, which pretty much finished flat on the day. It was green, but not by much. I think it was only up by like a penny. But of course, we know there's a lot of things that have happened inside of the market. We've had the FOMC meeting, we had the CPI numbers that came out last week. And as far as for the price action, we'll go further into it. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for BBIG. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $2.08, being up 0.48%. On the low, it tested $2, and then on the high, testing $2.19. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 10.608 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 10.994 million shares. So we had below average volume on the day, or you know what, let's just call it right around the average. It was lower, but we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 41.38. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 50-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So BBIG isn't a bear market since it's trading below all of our major moving averages. But one thing we have to keep in mind though, it is on a solid uptrend. Ever since testing the low at $1.93, it has been progressively moving up, and that's what you want to see. So it saw a high at $2.19, and you guys know how significant the 21-day EMA is. So if we can get to $2.25, things can start looking interesting. But upon getting to this level, we need price action to stay above it. We want the bulls to keep on buying and see if we can get a move to the 50-day moving average at $2.50. That would be the most ideal scenario there, and that's where we have this gap that needs to be filled, which you want to keep an eye on as well at $2.77. Now, if we decide to have a pullback, of course, I'd want to see us continuing to hold support. We tested a low at $2. So even if we broke through $2, I'd want to see us being in the high $1.90 range. So at least going into next week, if we have some more buying coming into the market, we could still get to that 21-day EMA and test it and see what it does from there. But for the most part, you can see that it is curling up, and we've seen how it does when it curls up in the past on many different occasions. It tends to have a strong move up, and that's what we're going to be expecting. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent short interest information for BBIG. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 34.08%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 1.67 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 0, updated just now. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 129.05%. This is exactly what we want to see. And then when we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 14th, it was at 45.84. And then for the close of the 15th, dropping down to 34.08. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 18.87%, BBIG does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for BBIG. So we see on the inflow, it is at 4.79 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 4.67 million. So we had an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large it was 0.68 million, on the medium it was 2.48 million, and then on the small it was 1.63 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 0, On the medium, it was 2.56 million. And then on the small, it was 2.11 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, June the 16th, we had that inflow of just under 680,000. And then on the 15th, we had that inflow of just under 294,000. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, you can see that we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 4.57%. And this is not too bad for a volatile stock like BBIG. And what this shows us, especially taking a look at the order flow, we have the big money that is loading up. And also when we take a look at the chart, it has been trending up strong. I'll talk about that further inside of the final thoughts. So let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for BBIG, when it comes to the price action, we have the 21-day EMA, which is at $2.25. On the day, we did not get any price action at this level whatsoever. So does it mean that it's bearish? Most definitely not. And here's the reason why. We ended up testing support at $2 and we had a high at $2.19. Plus, on top of that, this stock has been forming higher lows for the past 3 trading days. So what is this showing us? There are bulls who are stepping in and buying up the stock, especially when it was trading in the $1.90 range. So what is the next level that we want to see? I want to see a move not only to that 21-day EMA at $2.25, but I also want to see a move to the 50-day moving average, which is around $2.50. And that's when we'll start reassessing. And the reason behind that is there is a gap that needs to be filled to the upside around $2.77. If you guys remember, when it had its recent sell-off in regards to the Cryptide spinoff, there were many who were able to take advantage of it and buy some shares on the dip. And now that we're seeing it show some strength, that's why you want to keep a very close eye on it, especially those levels to the upside. Now, as far as for the downside is concerned, if it decides to pull back, we want to continue to see some strength at $2. If it breaks through $2, that's where we want to see support coming in the $1.90 range, or even around $1.93 to be exact. And if it breaks through those levels, that's where we start seeing some even more weakness. But from what I'm seeing, as long as BBIG can stay above 195, it will be completely fine and it will grab the attention of traders since the chart is looking fairly strong. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, BBIG does continue to have short squeeze potential. Plus, on top of that, we have this short borrow fee that is back above over 100%. And we know what happens when this occurs. We've seen it many times inside of the chart. I went over this inside of the technicals. BBIG is well known for bouncing off of these levels. It's done it many times in the past. I've also talked about that a lot in previous videos as well. So that's why you want to keep a very close eye on this play. And if you are thinking about taking a position, just know, are you going to be an investor or are you going to be a trader? And what is your time horizon going to be? Again, there's many people that call themselves investors, but when a stock pulls back like 10-20 cents, they start feeling concerned. They're like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. At the end of the day, you are a swing trader. You're looking for a short-term movement in the price. Even though you're not trading it intraday, you want that upside and you want it soon. So just be aware and know and acknowledge that. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But if you are an investor, and let's say if it decides to pull back even more, then you are going to load up on the dip. It doesn't bother you when there's a pullback in the stock. I want to make sure I continue to emphasize this because I see many people do get it confused. But we also have to understand these conditions that we have inside of the market. There is a lot of fear. We have Jerome Powell that said, you know what, we're going to be going with the 75 basis points. And we also had the CPI numbers that came out. So we're in a high inflationary environment. And this is not the best environment when it comes to growth stocks or tech stocks. And of course, BBIG being one of them. That's why it's very important that you have a detailed plan and you know exactly what your entry is going to be, and as well as for your exit, what your position size is going to be, and what you are expecting realistically out of this play. You see how I emphasize the word realistically? Don't just be saying, well, you know what, I want to get into this play because I know it's going to go to $50 and that's what I'm going to sell. Don't follow the crowd with all of that foolishness right there. Be realistic. I can't emphasize this more than enough. This is how you'll continue to see success inside of the markets, and also making sure that you're using a stop loss, and if you are up in your play, moving up your stops. I'm going to be saying that in a lot of my videos so you guys can hammer it home, and you know how it works when I say always protect your profits. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.